Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to relate an experience to you that I've experienced several times that relates very much to the Parsha. I most recently had this experience on Sam and mine's trip to Arizona last month. So the dad joke that I like to tell is that for me, anything west of New Jersey is exotic for me. I was born in New York. I was raised there and in Maryland. I've been living here in and outside Boston for 15 years. So the Acela corridor, the Northeast, is very much my home. But on our 10th anniversary trip, which was delayed 2 years due to COVID, we decided to cross an item off our bucket list, and we visited Sedona and the Grand Canyon. We landed in Phoenix around 10 p.m., picked up our rental car, and drove to Sedona. It's about a 2-hour drive. It was pitch black, couldn't see any of the scenery. We got to our hotel around midnight and immediately went to sleep. We had planned several hikes for when we were there. The next morning, as we drove to the trailhead, our mouths were perpetually open in amazement as we saw the incredible rock formations all around us. For the next 3 days, we continuously gaped at where we were, which is so unlike anything we have here. And no disrespect to Massachusetts at all. I love hiking here, but it's different out there. We took in every sunset, explored many vistas, and spent a great deal of time outside. It was so therapeutic for both of us, both because we had been overdue for a kids-free vacation, and the events of October 7th were still very present with us, having many friends and family members in Israel. The Grand Canyon, which was the topper, truly lived up to its name. Anybody been before? Okay. We stayed at the South Rim. We hiked the Bright Angel Trail down into the canyon. We took a sunset bus tour and saw more stars in the sky than we've seen in a very long time. It was so beautiful that I recited the blessing one says upon seeing wonders of nature. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, oseh ma'aseh v'reshit. Blessed are you, Lord our God, who does the work of creation. We can literally see this work being done in real time as the Colorado River flows through the canyon and continuously carves into the earth. The following day, after a helicopter tour of the canyon, which was truly extraordinary, we drove back to Phoenix, had dinner with a friend I've known since childhood, took the red eye back to Boston. And we finished our wonderful vacation with having Dunkin' Donuts in Logan Airport at 7:30 in the morning. My teacher, Rabbi Art Green, inspired by his teacher, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, calls this feeling radical amazement. To stand in wonder and awe at nature or during our most human moments, where we appreciate that we inhabit a sacred space. These moments are especially profound when they occur unexpectedly. The start of our Parsha, Yaakov is on the run from his brother Esau. He stops on the way to Haran, famously dreams of a ladder with angels ascending and descending it. God is present there as well. He tells him that he and his numerous offspring will inherit this land to which he will return safely. Waking up from his dream, Yaakov utters one of my favorite lines in the whole Torah. Achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh, anochi lo yadati. Surely God is in this place, and I did not know it. His amazement continues in the following pasuk. Vayira vayomar ma no ra hamakom hazeh. Ein zeh ki im beit Elohim v'zeh sha'ar shamayim. And Yaakov was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than God's house, and that is the gateway to heaven. I knew the Grand Canyon lives up to its name, but it was so much more than I expected. It's not just a hole in the ground. It's so much bigger, so much more beautiful, so much grander. As Sam and I watched a Hall of Fame sunset together, I definitely felt like Yaakov did. It was certainly a spiritual experience to witness such beauty. As I mentioned previously, it was perhaps the first time this fall when I was able to relegate events in Israel to the background of my mind, if only for a little while. We learned that the canyon had been a sacred site for several Native American tribes who made set pilgrimages there as part of their religious tradition, not at all unlike our own pilgrimage festivals, when Jews would go up to Jerusalem and visit the Beit HaMikdash 3 times a year. The 12th century Spanish commentator Ibn Ezra writes of Yaakov's exclamation that the house of God refers to any chosen place where a person's supplications will be answered in their time of need. Ramban and other commentators build on this idea, teaching that Yaakov actually is sleeping at the future site of the Beit HaMikdash, which really does become God's abode during the reign of Solomon. After awakening in fear and awe, Yaakov anoints the stone he had slept on and names the place he spent the night Beit El, literally the house of God. God's location becomes centralized subsequently in the Tanakh, in the Mishkan, in the desert, and then in the Beit HaMikdash, but the scenes and effects of God's handiwork may be felt and observed anywhere. Yaakov experiences God's presence at Beit El, and at the end of our Parsha, after 20 years spent working for Lavan, raising a family in at times frustrating conditions, he experiences God's presence again as he departs from Lavan for the final time. The angels of God appear to him as he leaves with 2 wives, 2 maidservants, 1 daughter, 12 sons, and many flocks, after coming to Lavan with barely more than the clothes on his back. He says, after encountering these angels at the end of the Parsha, Machane Elohim Zeh. This is God's camp. And he names the place where he is Machanayim, camps. The sages teach that Yaakov is credited with instituting the Ma'ariv service, which we recite in the evening every night. Our Eitz Chaim Chumash expands on this idea and posits that the sages may be crediting Yaakov as the first person able to find God in the midst of darkness. In times of travail, as well as times of joy, let us always be attuned to the Shekhinah, the divine presence. Realize that our world is indeed imbued with God's majesty. Whether it's the Grand Canyon, here in Shul, or anywhere else we may go, let us strive to realize that God is wherever we find ourselves, even if it's hard to sense in the moment. We recite as part of our Shabbat morning service, Adonai lo yanum v'lo yishan. God neither slumbers nor sleeps. May we continue to be reminded of God's everlasting presence everywhere and at all times, as Yaakov was. Shabbat shalom.